Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our good news report.
All right, for our good news report, I'd like to invite up Phoenicia Homan.
Good afternoon, President Kelly, members of the board, Phoenicia Homan, Vice President of Academics. Good to be back here again with you today. I'm excited to share about a construction camp that we had. So on September 17th, in partnership with AGC, or the Associated General Contractors of America, we hosted our construction camp. We had 221 students attend from 13 area schools. Those included Baltic, Brennan Valley, Freeman, Harrisburg, Sioux Falls Public, O'Gorman, Scotland, Trinity Christian, Tri-Valley, and West Central. Throughout that event, our students participated in 8 hands-on sessions led by our faculty and students, as well as industry partners. 2 of our faculty are here to, Marcus and Mike are here and help lead the electrician sessions. And then our dean, Jason Merritt, and then Nick Schneider, they also supported their faculty in leading some of the other sessions. And so those were on heavy equipment operation, concrete, carpentry, BIM modeling, civil engineering, land surveying, plumbing, HVAC, and electrician. So from the day received strong reviews from the participants, giving an average rating of just over a 4 out of 5. So we're pleased with our high school students on that. And then notably 47% of students indicated that they were more likely to pursue a career in the construction industry based on their experience that day. A personal highlight for me as I was walking around and just appreciating all the extra efforts of our faculty and staff that day was our students. So our students and how they were sharing their passion with the high school students and really getting to share working with them on some hands-on activities and sharing some strategies and some tips. And so really grateful for that, and specifically want to call out, as I mentioned, a few folks, but our academic and enrollment management staff that supported the event. So thank you.
Well, that's encouraging. Great exposure for the high school students, as well as our industry partners for the Dakota Build and matching people up with the interests and just furthering the development of our workforce. That's great. Gail.
I'm sorry, Dr. Holman, I missed this. Did you say this was the first time you'd hosted this? Oh, okay, okay. Well, I haven't, so okay. Thank you.
And I know at one point we had some concerns of high school students going right into industry. So what a perfect pairing of all the licensure and well, really the licensures and other qualifications that they need to really further their career and not just, go right to work, but look ahead to other opportunities that it also affords to them. Okay. Can I please get an approval of the meeting of minutes of the meeting held on September 3rd, 2025?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Do we have any persons wishing to address the school board on non-agenda items? I don't believe so. Or anybody else on agenda items? Okay, can I please get an approval of today's agenda?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Any conflicts of interest? Seeing none, we will move on to agenda item 9. Can I please get an approval of consent agenda items 9A through C?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. And Corey,
All right.
to the president.
Thank you. We have 4 reports for you today. We'll start with an update on enrollment with our fall enrollment and a financial aid update. So I'd like to invite up Megan Fisher and Micah Hansen.
Good afternoon, President Kelly and members of the board. I'm Megan Fisher, Vice President for Enrollment Management and Student Affairs, and it's my pleasure to present today where we landed for fall 2025 enrollment on Census Day, which we take on the 10th day. And really, I'm here representing all of the employees at Southeast Tech because recruiting, retention, and eventually graduating students is everyone who works there has a role to play in one or all of those parts with students. And Micah Hansen, our Director of Financial Aid, his office plays a critical role too. So he'll give you a financial aid update in just a minute. But where we landed on our 10th day, good news, we were up 156 students, which is fantastic, or a 6% increase. So 156 more students on campus this year than last year. There we go. And then credits. So we're just a little ahead of 30,000. And that's a significant number for us because it's been about 12 years since we've had at least 30,000 credits in the fall semester. So we're excited to hit that mark, and it represents a 4% increase in credits over last year. And then just to show you the trajectory that we've been on with enrollment, I wanted to compare our fall 2025 numbers to the last 5 years. So if you go down to the bottom, you can see our fall 2025 numbers compared to fall 2020. And from 5 years ago, we're up 21% in headcount, and we're up 16% in credits. So you can see that we've incrementally increased that every year, which is fantastic, because really what that means is we're doing a better job of meeting our mission. And we know our industry partners, we hear this all the time with Build Dakota partners and other partners. I mean, they love our students. They feel like they can hit the ground running when they start their jobs. They just always want more of them. And so we're doing our best to provide them more graduates every year. But again, this is just a testament to the hard work of everybody at the college, and we're excited about these numbers and being able to serve more students this year. Okay, looking at our dual and concurrent credit and high school partnerships. So dual credit is our course taught by our instructors to high school students. Concurrent credit means that it's a high school teacher teaching our course to high school students. So that's the difference between dual and concurrent. And you can see we have 31 additional students, high school students, taking dual or concurrent credit this year. And looking at our dual credit numbers, Avera Academy and Classroom to Careers, which is of course partnerships with the Sioux Falls School District and Avera and Sanford. Those, I would say, are our flagship programs that have been around a long time. So the individuals chosen for that program, they're taking classes, they're coming out to Southeast Tech, taking classes, have the ability to explore our programs throughout the fall semester, and then they're going to the hospitals as well, and they're being able to see firsthand the careers that they could potentially go into in healthcare. McCross and Boys Ranch, we've been offering construction management courses out at the ranch for several years now, and just with an instructor change this year and letting him focus on our degree-seeking students and getting up to speed with the curriculum and everything, we took a break this fall from McCrossans, but we'll be back there in the spring. So just a pause, but we'll get back there. And then concurrent in Harrisburg, again, we've offered this for quite a while, construction management. And of course, the CTE Academy, we have some concurrent courses there, specifically in the Business Academy. We seem to see a lot of students taking some of those courses. Teach Well Solutions, it looks like we've got 5 students, and that they are out on campus, and the goal is to help them transition and to consider college, and if that's going to be a fit for them. So we've been doing that for several years, and we have had some students who've matriculated to Southeast Tech. And then the College Start program. So we only have 2 in that program, but I like to point out that it's pretty significant. It takes a really special student to be in this program because they have to know really by the beginning of their junior year that they want to be a nurse and that they've wrapped up the majority of their high school credits. But if they do that, it allows them to start taking the prerequisite courses for our LPN program. And these two individuals will be starting their LPN coursework during their senior year of high school. So they'll get a semester under their belt through dual credit, and that is sponsored by the Sioux Falls Development Foundation. So we hope to grow that in the future, but it's a great opportunity for students if they know exactly what they want to do. I didn't at that age, but I guess there are a few of them out there. And then concurrent courses, we're offering math and English out at Brandon Valley this year, which is new, and as well as our partnership with Jefferson, which is fantastic. I know if you remember when the school was being built, we talked about, let's build a sidewalk so the students can walk back and forth. Well, we're starting to see some things come together with Jefferson. They're not walking back and forth yet, but we're over there. It's a short distance. So that's exciting. So we've got math and English courses out there. And then at the bottom, I did break down the numbers for the Sioux Falls School District. So we have 80 Sioux Falls School District students taking either dual or concurrent with us in this fall. So that's a 38% increase over 58 students last year. And I think that is definitely attributable to the Jefferson High School concurrent programs. Let's see here, what else did I add? Oh, and then just a representation of the schools. So 43 students over at Jefferson, 15 at Roosevelt, 15 at Lincoln, and 7 at Washington. And just the last slide for you, this is a little bit more breakdown of our demographics for our fall student body. And you can see that we're about 50-50 with student status of students either being full-time or part-time. Now those part-time students, a lot of them may be taking some prerequisite courses for some of our programs, so they'll get to full-time when they start their program courses, but they may just need to pick up a couple courses, so that puts them at the part-time route. And of course, we do have students who choose that option, right, because they've got families and they've got other responsibilities and they're working and all of that. So trying to be flexible with them so they can still get that degree. And then 62% of our students are traditional age students. I will tell you, like at our campus visit days, when we're giving tours, students are coming for personal visits in the admissions office. We are seeing more students choose Southeast Tech as their first choice. They're hearing about technical education, right? They're taking those CTE courses. They're getting exposed through things like the AGC and the CTE Academy here, but also throughout the state, there's different CTE programs. So we do see more students choosing Southeast Tech as their first choice. And then dual credit, that makes up 12% of our student body, and non-traditional, which we categorize as anyone 24 years of age or older. So we have a good population there with 26%. So we serve a broad variety of individuals, which is fun. Degree seeking, 86% of our students are degree seeking. And then if you look at the state breakdown, it's what you think it would be, right? We're getting the majority of our students from South Dakota. And if you remember from this past spring when Jackie Palmer and Alex Anderson were here and they presented the graduate outcome report, they reported that 86% of our graduates stay in South Dakota and work here. So most of them are staying here and working here. And hopefully we're recruiting a few from Southwest Minnesota and Northwest Iowa to stay here. And those other states, we only have 29 students, but sometimes we see students come here for a specific program. We get students for nursing, right, because they're looking for nursing programs. And we also have a couple niche programs like our land surveying science program, our sonography programs that aren't readily available in the area. So we do see students coming to Southeast Tech for that. And then I provided the race and ethnicity breakdown just so you could see the makeup of our student body. As the city continues to grow and is more diverse, we are hopeful that we will reflect that even more every year. And so we've been seeing that trend as well. And then our new and returning students, just for degree seeking students, so 49% of our students are newer, 1,177 students. And then returning students, we categorized as anybody who took a course for credit during the 24-25 academic year. So a very quick snapshot of our fall student body, but at this time I would welcome any questions you might have.
Well, just an observation I have is that in seeing that 50%, it's almost 50-50 with the traditional or full-time, part-time students. And just that we continue to utilize our buildings to the extent possible in looking at either it's weekends or evenings, online classes to continue to accommodate that population, just with the goal of putting more quality students into the workforce to
Right.
meet the demands that you're talking about, and also then just really being aware of our return on investment of the buildings and just being used to the best of their ability.
And I know in our new strategic plan that you guys have taken a look at and approved, the second goal specifically includes some of that in that second goal area. So that group will definitely be focusing on course delivery and looking at options.
Yeah, keep meeting those industry needs. Yeah.
What I find interesting, if I look at your race and ethnicity, not looking specifically at the numbers,
Yep.
because at K-12, we are a 55-45 district. But when I look at where the ethnicity breaks, you're in the same lineup as we are in K-12. So as our more diverse elementaries get into high school and graduate, and the majority of your students come from Sioux Falls, I would see that your numbers over the years are going to match our K-12 numbers, and that's exciting.
Yep.
To have,
I agree.
to make sure that our schools, match our community, and that.
And then our
kids-
graduates help meet that workforce need as well. So-
Exactly, and then they're out in the workforce, and then we've got all those role models out
Yep.
there, and it's just a
Yep.
great cycle going
It'll
forward.
happen.
So,
Any other questions that you have for me before Micah shares some information about his office?
And according to the agenda, we're going to listen to both the fall enrollment as well as the financial aid update, and then together acknowledge that report, if you're okay
Yes,
with that.
and I would just say, after students decide Southeast Tech and the program that they want, the next question is, how am I going to pay for this? So that's when Micah and his team come in. So that's why we're kind of tag teaming this.
Thanks, Megan. Thanks, President Kelly, members of the board. So my office in the Mickelson Center, just a quick background on me, bachelor's from South Dakota State. I've been in financial aid for about 16 years now. We are lucky at Southeast Tech to have a very seasoned financial aid team. The combined four of us have a total of 79 years of experience at this point in financial aid. So I feel like we have one of the strongest teams really in financial aid offices across the state right now, because there's a lot of them that have a lot of newer folks. So some good folks there that we work with that help make these goals possible for us. We also appreciate support from Megan, from Corey, and from the board for allowing us to participate and supporting our participation in our professional organizations at state, regional, and national levels. Those help keep us up to date with the ever-changing federal aid regulations. So again, we just appreciate the opportunity to continue to do that and the support that we get from the school. Additional services that our office provides. So outside of just regular in-office, we present at those campus visit days, academic advising and registration days, Avera Academy and Classrooms to Careers. We help with scholarship workshops. We have presented to faculty and staff groups. The high school counselor annual fall meeting, we help present at that. Do lots of reporting. We just finished up PhysApp and that gainful employment reporting. Both of those were due today. We have them done, so happy to have that checked off the list. And then we also help with processing scholarships that they come in for students, et cetera. So a lot of work going on in our offices all the time. Like Megan said, the question, what is this going to cost me? That is an important question we get all the time. So anytime that I'm presenting to groups of potential students and parents, I like to point out the smart investment and looking at the return on investment. So how much time are you putting in? How much money are you putting in? And what does that look like? So in 2 years, just under $20,000 versus that 4-year route that's looking at about $83,000, just so they can get that idea of what is the difference here. So, and making sure that they understand how smart the investment in technical education is. We do provide them the ability to calculate what that cost is. So if any of you have ever seen program sheets that our admissions office hands out, has everything broken down by credits. And at registration days, when they register, they can take this worksheet that we have created so that they're able to go in and we can help them do the math and say, hey, this is what this is going to cost you. What we remind them too is what's not in there is, your books, supplies, tools aren't in there. So be thinking about those as a family or as a student. What additional costs might I have that I need to plan for? So then we'll jump into student numbers. 24-25, last year we had a large year. This year's we're running pretty close on track to the same numbers as far as that goes. So when we talk about ICERs, that's a FAFSA. So every time a student fills out a FAFSA, we get what we call an ICER record from that. Last year we had 4,810 of those come in. Now that's not all individual students. That can be a student completing it multiple times. I think last year our record was we had one that was changed 12 times. So they went out and loved the FAFSA enough, they changed it 12 times. That 4,810 is actual 3,187 applications. Out of that, our office sent out about 1,862 eligibility notifications saying this is what you're eligible for, here's how you can accept that aid. 25-26, as of September 22nd, we're up to 3,844 ICER records that have come in, and that represents 3,120 applicants. So the numbers-wise we're seeing there, we're doing really well. We've sent out 1,846 eligibility notifications this year already. So some of those include Spring Start only students, but we're gonna have probably another push of students who are Spring Start students coming in. When we just look at our traditional meetings in the office, when we meet face-to-face with students, 2024-25, 1,985 students who just came in and said, I need help with financial aid. Out of those, 530 of those were just in the Jumpstart week through the first 2 weeks of fall. So in a 3-week period, we had 530 students come in. There are some weeks where we maybe have 5 students come in if it's an off season. So first 3 weeks are always super busy. This year, so far we've had 869 students come in for appointments, 547 of those in that first 3-week period. So fall is a very busy time for us, obviously. And then we also help students if they need distance-based. We do a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails. I didn't even try to count the number of emails that we've gotten. And then with Zoom if a student wants, or Teams meetings. So we offer any way that it is convenient for a student to try to get their questions answered. 24-25 federal aid, just overall last year, we had 1,080 Pell Grant recipients, 180 that were SEOG, or that supplemental education grant, 1,341 borrowing student loans, and we had 22 work-study participants. This year to date, as of last week Tuesday, we have 848 Pell Grant recipients, 149 that are getting that SEOG grant. We have 964 so far that are getting loans, and then 10 in work-study. So those numbers will obviously go up once we get spring added in there, and summer as well. I think right now we're trending higher on Pell Grants, that we'll have a higher number of Pell Grants this year because of changes to the current FAFSA. I think that's going to go away the following year after that because they've made changes to that again. So just the common issues we help students and families with when they're applying for aid, additional paperwork if they're selected for verification. Sometimes they put in the wrong tax information, so we have to help them find that. If we find that they filed incorrectly, dealing with those. So even though we aren't tax experts, we're supposed to know whether or not it's done right. So we spend a lot of time talking to them about this is what we know, so you can talk to your accountant and tell us, what their opinion is on it. We've had a lot of students this year that their social security number is wrong. So they'll apply for admissions with one social security number, and then it gets into financial aid and they've typed a different one. I don't know if they're going too fast, if they just forget. Not many young students know their social security number right now, but we've seen it across all ages. So that's been an interesting one this year. Citizenship status issues that we have to follow up on because there's been changes there, and then just aid limits on students who have previously borrowed. 25-26 things we have going on right now. So there's what we call a 329 code error from the feds, which is literally a code that says there's something wrong with processing your FAFSA. You don't need to do anything else. We'll tell you when we have it fixed, but they don't know how they're going to fix it. So thankfully, we only have about 4 or 5 students that are stuck in that right now, but it's literally just the Fed's response is, we don't know, we'll tell you when we do know. So that one's been an interesting one. We've had a lot of last-minute default students. So student loan repayment started a little over a year ago. We've had a lot of students who started, I shouldn't say a lot, it's maybe a dozen at most, but students who have started and they have not made payments in the last year. So they started classes on the first day of class, and then by that Friday, their loans had gone into a default status from the prior year. So with those students, thankfully, most of them were able to get a deferment slipped in there, and they will go ahead and put those back at an okay status. But that's one of those last minute, hey, you have aid, everything's great, to, hey, you don't have any money, we need to fix this right away. But thankfully, again, our students have been responsive when we reached out. Thanks to the use of Navigate, we can email and text them right away, and we've been getting a good response on that. So I think we only had one student that ultimately wasn't able to continue at this point. So the changes to federal aid coming from DC, limits on PLUS loans, not really affecting us. Out of all of the changes they made to federal aid, these two, the limits on PLUS loans and the Pell Grant for full ride scholarships, are the only two that would actually apply to our students. Our parents aren't borrowing PLUS loans in amounts that high, so we aren't seeing any impact right now. And then the Pell Grant for full ride students. So even though our students who get Build Dakota get tuition and fees paid for, there's other parts of cost of attendance that we figure in, such as food, housing, transportation, other miscellaneous, so that those students are not automatically losing Pell because of that scholarship, because we have those additional things built into cost of attendance. So that hasn't impacted our students either. And then just updates the 26-27 FAFSA. For the first time in 3 years, they've had it out on time. So it is live, it's out there now. They did figure out that the invite process, when a student is going through their FAFSA and they have to invite a parent, they used to have Social Security, date of birth, and email for parents. Now they're only required to have an email, so that should simplify that process. Hopefully fewer abandoned applications because that parent process is easier. And then they have now also brought back the small business, if it's a small family-owned business or a family farm. Current year, they're required to report everything for that as far as the net worth. They're taking that back out again, so that will help those farm families and those small business families. Then I am open to any questions if you have any.
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. Your worksheet that you put together, how much does it cost for the semester? That's really smart. It's really well done, and so kudos to whoever put that together. So thanks.
So I'm wondering, Mike, if we could go back and look at the smart investment slide, and then if I could first see the one right after that before I make this comment.
This one?
Okay, good. So that really just shows the cost. So if we could go back to the smart investment, that's what it costs to go to school. Would it be beneficial to also have a slide that would talk about the value that's added through a degree in terms of the salary of the student, and look at the 5-year, 10-year, and then you could add compound interest with that if they were to save 2%, of that over the course of their span of working, what that difference is between their degree or their licensure and what they would have without that, just on average. Just a thought.
I think that is valuable information. I think maybe I'll talk to Megan in marketing and see if they can get some stuff together for that.
If they really want to know smart investment.
Yes.
So, okay, we are going to I'd like to see if we could make a motion to acknowledge both the report of the fall enrollment and the financial aid.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have acknowledged that report. Thank you, both of you. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. For our next report, we do try to keep you updated on different academic programs in each of our meetings, and we actually have 2 of them for you today. The first one is paramedic science, and so I'd like to invite up our program director, Ryan Sittig, to talk about this interesting partnership that we have for this program as well.
Wonderful. Well, good afternoon, Board President Kelly, school board members, and President Classman. As President Classman said, my name is Ryan Sittig, and I'm the program director for the paramedic program at Southeast Tech. So thank you for the opportunity to provide this executive summary. And I'm jumping the gun because I'm trying to keep moving. Thank you. So I'd like to start by introducing the dedicated team behind our paramedic program. These are the people that are making the education, the mentorship, and the clinical preparation possible. First, our paramedic educators, Raymond Burbine, James Smith, and Miranda Goodrich. They're on the front lines of teaching, of guiding students through classroom instruction, lab simulations, and real-world clinical preparation. Each of them brings years of field experience and a passion for developing the next generation of paramedics. I believe James is actually became a paramedic probably shortly after I was born. So he has a ton of experience that he brings to the table. Our paramedic program is strengthened by outstanding physician leadership. Dr. Chris Boucher, who's a former paramedic, serves as our medical director. He helps by guiding clinical education and quality standards. Alongside him, we're extremely fortunate to have Dr. Ben Littman, who is a fellow trained EMS physician, provide direct physician instruction, sharing his expertise in emergency medicine as well as pre-hospital medicine. Then at the leadership level, we're fortunate to have Travis Spear, who's the director for the Center for Pre-Hospital Care and Simulation at Sanford. He provides system level support and then kind of strategic direction. As the program director, I oversee the daily operations of the paramedic program, guiding curriculum, accreditation, as well as student success. And finally, Deborah Letcher is the Associate Dean of Curriculum and Instruction at Southeast Tech. She provides academic oversight and then ensures that our program aligns with the college's mission and values. So in 2021, Southeast Tech and Sanford Health launched this paramedic program together. The partnership was created in response to a growing need for paramedics in both Sioux Falls and across the region. This collaboration combines the strengths of both institutions. Southeast Tech provides the academic foundation and framework, while Sanford Health offers unmatched instructional staff and clinical experiences in one of the region's largest healthcare systems. This unique collaboration blends academic excellence with real-world training. Students benefit from direct access to Sanford's Level 1 Trauma Center, pediatric centers, their critical care units, and this ensures that students are immersed in patient care from the very start. Our purpose is simple, to prepare competent entry-level paramedics in the cognitive, psychomotor, and affective learning domains. The program is committed to serving the needs of local communities of interest, including students, even graduates and employers, while remaining consistent with the overall mission of Southeast Tech and Sanford Health. Paramedic program is offered as a 2-year Associates of Applied Science degree, and this ensures that students receive not only advanced clinical and technical education, but it also gives them an academic foundation that they need for long-term professional growth. Upon completion of the program, graduates are eligible to sit for the National Registry of Emergency Medical Technicians paramedic exam. And our students also graduate with 6 specialty certifications that enhance their readiness for the workforce. So as I mentioned, these specialty courses, in addition to the standard paramedic curriculum, students are required to complete a series of nationally recognized certification courses as well. So we start with basic life support. That's the foundation that teaches CPR, basic life-saving steps for someone who stops breathing or whose heart stops, basic CPR stuff. But we build on that with advanced cardiac life support, which covers more advanced skills for treating people with serious heart problems like heart attacks or dangerous cardiac arrhythmias. So we review using medications, manual defibrillation techniques, advanced airway maneuvers, things like that. Pediatric advanced life support focuses on children and infants. So that teaches how to recognize breathing problems or heart problems in kids as their needs really vary from adults. Pre-hospital trauma life support trains providers on current trends or emerging trends to care for patients with major trauma, major injury from trauma before they get to the hospital. Advanced medical life support reinforces critical thinking and teaches the students how to handle serious medical problems. The neonatal resuscitation program is specialized training for newborn babies. So it teaches how to help a newborn baby, that might be struggling right after birth. Each certification builds on their classroom and their clinical education, which strengthens their ability to provide high quality and really important evidence-based care across all patient populations and emergency settings. So beyond learning clinical procedures, our paramedic students are also developing critical professional competencies that prepare them to succeed in the real world. These competencies are just as important as the medical skills that they learn. Paramedics rarely work alone. Our students are trained to function as part of a team, whether with fellow paramedics, EMTs, nurses, or physicians. They learn how to coordinate under pressure and ensure that everyone is working towards the same goal, which is the best outcome for the patient. Emergency medicine rarely follows a script. I tell my students often that your patients don't read the textbook, so be prepared that they're not going to present like that. But students practice analyzing complex, fast-moving situations, interpreting patient data, and making rapid but informed decisions. The critical thinking skill is one of the cornerstones to safe and effective care. In the field, the paramedic often takes the lead, and our students are trained to direct emergency scenes. They delegate responsibilities, and they take ownership of the patient outcome. Leadership is not optional in our program. It is an expectation. We've adopted principles from aviation safety called crew resource management. This means that we're constantly teaching students to maintain situational awareness, understand what's going on around them, communicate clearly, and to reduce the chance of errors through teamwork. It's about making high-risk environments as safe as possible. Clear communication is vital. Students learn to deliver concise, accurate reports to hospitals. They collaborate with other healthcare professionals and to explain situations with compassion to their patients and their families. Finally, everything's grounded in professionalism. Our students are held to a high standard of integrity, confidentiality, and respect for the people they serve. So when we talk about educating paramedics, it's not just about starting IVs or reading heart rhythms. It's about shaping a well-rounded professional who can think critically, can lead with confidence, and serve their community with skill and compassion. We currently have 18 students enrolled, representing a diverse group of students that are preparing to serve in both urban and rural EMS systems. Since the program started in 2021, 24 students have graduated, and that may sound like a small number, but for a young program, that's a very strong start. Each of these graduates represent a highly educated paramedic that's entered the workforce, and we know in South Dakota, we need EMS workforce. We're short everywhere. One of the key indicators of a program's strength is retention, and we're proud to report a retention rate of almost 80%. That means that we're not only attracting students, but we're also keeping them engaged, and we're seeing them through and supporting them all the way through to graduation. This level of success is possible because of the strong partnership that we have between Southeast Tech and Sanford Health. The combination of academic structure, clinical immersion, and faculty support is directly translating to better outcomes for our students. When we talk about program quality, the best way to look at that and measure that is by outcomes. Our program has produced 24 graduates since 2021, and I think the results speak for themselves. Now, mind you, we didn't have a class graduate until 2023, okay? Our national registry exam pass rate is 96%, with nearly 90% of our students passing on their very first attempt at the credentialing exam. We have had 2 cohorts where every student has passed on the first attempt. That's a rare feat. I've been in EMS education for 20 years, and I can tell you that's the 3rd time it's happened. So, so we're very proud of those cohorts. So this means that almost every graduate who attempts the certification exam earns their credential. That demonstrates that our students are not only learning the material, but they're mastering it at a level well above the national benchmark. Our positive placement rate or employment rate is 100%. Every single graduate has found employment in EMS. That's a powerful indicator of workforce readiness and the demand that our graduates have. Employers are eager to hire our students because they know they are ready to go to work on the day they hire them. It's also important to highlight that this success is consistent. We're not just celebrating like a single strong cohort. Year after year, our graduates are proving themselves in the classroom, in clinicals, and ultimately in the workforce. In short, our outcomes confirm that the program is not only sustainable, but it's producing exactly what our communities need: highly skilled, nationally certified, and workforce-ready paramedics. So as we said, our graduates are not just passing exams. They're out in the field strengthening EMS systems across South Dakota. Every graduate from our program has found placement in EMS, and they're working right here in our region. Our alumni are now serving on the front lines here in Sioux Falls, in Mitchell, Brookings, and many other surrounding communities. This local presence means the education investment made in these students is directly affecting our communities. Because the program's rooted at Southeast Tech and Sanford Health, we are intentionally focused on educating professionals who will stay here, who will live here, and who will serve here. That local retention is exactly what the state of South Dakota needs to help address the ongoing EMS shortage. As part of the Sanford Health Partnership, our students have access to unmatched simulation technology, including state-of-the-art high-fidelity mannequins, and we're even using virtual reality platforms. And that allows them to practice high-risk, low-frequency scenarios in a very safe and controlled setting. These tools gives the student the confidence to handle real-world emergencies before they ever set foot on an ambulance. On top of simulation, our students benefit from a wide range of clinical experiences across the Sanford hospital system. They rotate through the emergency department, operating rooms, pediatric units, critical care units, obstetrics, and more. This breadth of experience ensures that our graduates are not only technically skilled, but they're also comfortable working across various populations and environments. Perhaps the strongest endorsement comes directly from our graduates. One recent alum shared, "Southeast Tech provided me a ton of on-the-job experience, and I was ready to go to work when I graduated." Looking ahead, our program is positioned for continued growth. Enrollment has increased every year since we launched, and that trend shows no signs of slowing down. With more students, comes a greater need to expand field internship opportunities, and we're actively expanding partnerships to ensure that every student has access to a high-quality EMS system to do that internship in. These efforts will allow us to keep pace with demand and at the same time help us make sure that we maintain the standards of excellence that our program is known for. The bottom line is this: the future of our program is bright. With continued support, strong partnerships, we will not only meet today's workforce needs, but we will build the capacity to meet the challenges of tomorrow and continue to strengthen emergency medical services across our region. So on behalf of Southeast Tech and Sanford Health, I'd like to thank you for your time. We're proud of what has been accomplished in just a few short years, and we're even more excited about what lies ahead. Thanks for standing with us as we continue to grow this program and prepare the next generation of highly skilled, competent, and hopefully compassionate paramedics. Again, thanks for your attention. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I've got a question for
I'm
you.
sure we're going to just take a motion to acknowledge, and then we're going to ask
Darn
you
it, I was
questions,
excited.
just so we get it on the table. Can somebody make a motion to acknowledge the paramedic report?
So moved.
Second. Okay, now we're discussion. Go for it, Mark.
Next. I had a question.
Yes.
I worked in small communities in education, and they, like the volunteer firemen,
Mhm.
had this 90 hours of training qualified them for a paramedic. Is there, and I'm not discounting that as not being enough education, but if we compared those two things, And I know they did a lot of it, I think, brought people in and did in-service training and whatever. So I'm assuming that you have a better system, and because they have all this experience in the partnerships and those kind of things. Is there a massive difference between what those small town rural people go through? Is
Sure. And I certainly not like you said, not discounting any level of profession, but there's a difference between emergency medical technicians or even emergency medical responders and paramedics, a complete different level of service and training. So, EMRs might go through 50, 60, 70 hours of training. EMTs are probably pushing the 200 hour now, where paramedics are sitting more at about the 1,200, 1,400 hour mark. We see a lot of paramedic programs in the area that are certificate programs only. We are the only program in the state that is a degree-seeking program. And we feel very passionate about that because we want to try to continue to advance our profession forward. Plus, it's setting up our students to move in the field. They can move to supervisory roles or education roles, or maybe they decide to go on to nursing. So they've got that step up among other paramedics in the region where they can start to move forward. So there's a big difference between those different levels of education. Yeah.
Well, the other big difference is many of them are volunteers.
Yeah.
Versus, and that leads me to my next question. What is the average pay?
That's a tricky one to answer. There's a difference between private, public, fire-based, non-fire-based, and you're looking at South Dakota versus other states. I'll give you a rough estimate. In the state of South Dakota, you're probably in the 20s, somewhere starting, $20 an hour, somewhere starting, probably, lower 20s. You move out into, you just go up to like Minneapolis or something, you're going to be starting probably in the high 20s to low 30s. So, of course, with your overtime and whatever else, your annual salary could vary widely.
So much to uplift here. Thank you for your report. The one area I want to highlight is your competencies that you support students with. I think that is so valuable, especially as we're seeing so many young people take dual credits at a younger and younger age. Just by example, those two young people taking, they know they're going to be nurses by 16. So you're seeing a lot of these people go into the workforce very young, and it's not to discredit their worldly views or their experiences, but there's a lack thereof, right?
Right.
So just having that as a core piece to your program I just can't appreciate that enough.
Thank you.
I've had a lot of students enter into the workforce and totally not feel prepared because they don't know how to manage their work-life balance, but then they're working with their coworkers. They don't know how to problem solve or effectively communicate their needs. And then they end up not loving their profession because of their work environment. So I love that the competencies are there in addition to the trainings. I guess I'm not aware of all the programs that do that. I'm hopeful that that's almost like a standard. If it is, please let me know. But I haven't really heard programs do that. And again, I apologize if that's normal for most of your programs, but it was really great to see that.
I've always said we can produce a really good paramedic and a really bad employee, and that doesn't do anyone any good. So let's try to make both.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Kind of along those lines, I was curious about, as a paramedic, I'm sure you see it's a high pressure situation. You see a lot of things. Are there psychological supports and things that you work on throughout the?
Yep. So we spend a little bit more time on that at the beginning of the year, kind of as we're getting into the profession and talking about mental health. But that's a big push across the emergency services industry, whether it's law enforcement, firefighting, or EMS. We are starting to see a lot more of those topics being talked about when they really weren't even 10 years ago. And so we're starting to incorporate as much of that as we can in the program. And it's nice being tied with Southeast Tech too, because they have some of those student support services that we can help, send students to if they do need help. And we do have students, I feel like we're close to our students. We have smaller cohorts and our instructors are close to our students. And so there are times where students have come to us and they say, hey, I had this call, can we talk about it? And yeah, we're gonna sit down and have that conversation with them, offer them assistance, give them our advice if they want it, and certainly give them resources to help with, and hopefully coping strategies. One of the things we teach right now is resiliency. How do we become more resilient in these situations? So that's one of our focuses, is resiliency.
So when I was looking at your pushpin map, I was thinking that, like others, I've had experience in small towns and small school districts. And there's not a small school district around that doesn't have a career day that brings in their community heroes and people to talk about their jobs and what they do. And so I'm looking at your map thinking, look at all the ambassadors you have for your program and the possibility that they can talk about, yeah, I got this great education at Southeast Tech. And so I'm hoping that, another push for alumni, I'm hoping that, I've got a couple things, that I like to push him on. I'm hoping that your alumni will always support the institution that they got their degree from, and hopefully that'll give you some more incoming students as the years go by.
I would say our biggest marketing tool is our former students. And so we want our students to leave happy and feel like they got something that they deserved and earned. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, got a motion on the table. All in favor of acknowledging the report, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have acknowledged that report.
All right, thank you. We have one more academic report for you today, and this is on our electrician program. So I'd like to invite up our instructors, Mike Bezacek and Marcus Hunter.
Good afternoon, President Kelly, members of the board. My name is Mike Bezacek.
Good afternoon, President Kelly and the board. My name is Marcus Hunter.
We'll just talk to you a little bit about the electrician program. We have on our screen right now, we have 4 semesters, so it's a 2-year program, 69 credits. Just a little bit about our experience. Said 23 years in the field for myself. I have my South Dakota electrical contractor's license. I have a North Dakota master's license, and I'll let Marcus talk a little bit about his.
Same years of experience. Again, the South Dakota electrical contractor's license, and I hold the City of Sioux Falls contractor's electrical license. So just looking at our program numbers there, we stay pretty consistent over the last 5 years with our numbers. With new students, incoming students, we typically start in that 40 range, 41, 42. And we are bringing back anywhere from 25 to 30, sometimes a couple more, a couple less here and there. And graduating anywhere from that 25 to 30 range is where we're sitting there. So.
Yeah, just talking about our retention and where we lose some students, like a number of different reasons. You might have one that doesn't show up at all the first week. And then we'll have, like at our Christmas break, we may lose one, or, within the first week or two, you may see where they just found out that it really wasn't what they thought it was going to be. And so you'll lose someone there. Between our Christmas break, we may lose somebody there, and then not very often, but every once in a while we'll lose someone between the first and second year that maybe just stayed and went to work. We had a student this year, family circumstances just kind of where they needed to work at the same time, and put school on hold. And so they're able to just go out in the field and work. And then we have some students that just aren't able to, make it through. And most of that is based on attendance. If you start missing days, we always say every day builds on the next day, so it's kind of hard to make up a little bit from that. Did everybody get a chance to get a good look at our numbers going through there before I change this? Some of our objectives then, like our technical skills, obviously demonstrate basic wiring skills for residential, commercial, industrial applications. We tend to break our trade down into those 3 separate avenues. And you'll see companies are split up like that a lot, like residential, just mainly multifamily or multi-unit homes, single family homes, maybe some apartment buildings and stuff like that, light commercial. And then you get into some commercial companies that are just focused on school buildings, hospitals, retail, and stuff like that. And then industrial, which would be more ethanol plants, maybe some oil and gas stuff in situations like that. And so we try to expose students to all three of those categories, because somebody may like to wire a house, and somebody might, hate wiring a house, but they really like wiring that building. It's a lot of what's happening on the wires, like that explain and interpret AC/DC electrical theory. What's happening on the wires in those situations is the same, but like the way we get it there, the cables that we use as compared to conduit in commercial buildings and stuff. So we really try to lay the foundation and show them those three different avenues to go down. You want to talk about blueprints a little bit?
The problem solving and the critical thinking. They get a semester of blueprint reading, and we basically have blueprints laid out there on our desks and tabletops, and we go over the different aspects of a house compared to a school or like a Walmart, and how much more detail there is in there. Knowing everything about them gets a little tough with the students. The big thing that we really concentrate on is just reading and understanding, or trying to get a good grasp of what they're looking at. As far as actually laying out the electrical, they're not quite there yet. Obviously, they're just starting out in the trade. So it's just a big part of finding and locating and knowing what you're looking at there. So.
Professionalism, then, things that we get into, of course, our number one thing in our world is safety. That's probably the number one reason to go to school, is understand how to work on this stuff, understand how to deal with this stuff safely, understand how to use your meter. The number one thing is to go home at night. So we want to model those safety practices in the workplace. And then also what we try to do on the professionalism side is, like, for us, if you've ever hired an electrician, time is money. I mean, it's time and material jobs, or we bid a job, so we got to make sure we get out there and we're using our time wisely. We're organized, we're set up for the day, and just make sure, everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then the last one, you can talk on.
The communication goes right along with that professionalism in our eyes, I guess, that safety aspect. Number 1, and number 1A would be our NEC, our National Electric Code. Everything we do is based off of that. If you want to I always tell the students, if you want to take a nap, just start reading it. It's very boring. It's written like a law book. We want to teach them how to navigate, just like the blueprints. We navigate through that, find what we're looking for, and interpret what the code wants, what we call an AHJ, the authority having jurisdiction, or inspectors and stuff, knowing what they're looking for and how they interpret it, because it's all interpreted in how that person is looking at it. Not a lot of black and white in there, but they get to use that book when they go in and take what we call their journeyman's exam. And so knowing your way to how to navigate through that book is a huge part, and really helps students pass that journeyman's exam.
Yeah, everything we do is based off the code book, because all of our work gets inspected. And so everything has to meet code before it can pass that inspection. And code is things like, where do I need straps? What size wire do I use for this? So this would be a class that they have. If I go to the next one. Just going into curriculum a little bit, this would be a class, they have a code class every semester. This is our first year curriculum for students. And we'll go through ours, we start with our 101 fundamentals, basic knowledge, and we're starting at that point where we may even have to start showing kids how to read a tape measure. Some kids come in with experience, but we just have enough of them that even showing them how to use a screwdriver, how to show them how to use hammers. So some are past there, but we get some very entry level in some of that. And so that's our fundamentals. And then we get into lab. We have obviously have lecture times, but we try to spend as much time in lab as possible just to get onto that hands-on skills and whatnot. And talk about blueprints or anything.
I do the blueprints and schematics, and like I said, it's just get the printout on the table and going over what everything is on there and finding different things. And then that electric construction, that's their first introduction to the NEC. They get into that. We basically, in the 2 years, we start on page 1 and we try and get completely through it. In the 8 years I've done this, I think I've gotten all the way to the end once. It's different for every class. There's some classes that they got it and we move on. Other classes we spend more time in a particular area and so forth there. That second semester, I teach the residential side of things. That 154 wiring essentials is a residential. We start out in the morning with the hour to hour and a half lecture there, and then we're in the lab putting what we did in lecture to hands-on in our lab classes there. And we start with the wire up this outlet to wire up this kitchen, bathroom, bedroom type thing there. So
Yeah, we try to show them as much real world lab experience as possible, because that's even though our tests, when you go in there to take your journeyman test, like you mentioned, you take it over the NEC, but obviously in our world, it's what you can do with your hands, what you can do with your tools. And then just to touch a little bit on the second semester, like that fundamentals of controls, that would lean into more of the industrial side of it. That'd be like motor controls, start-stop stations, grain bins, things of that nature that would just introduce them to something like that. Second year, third semester, then we're just looking at, they have another code class again. They have a wiring essentials lab. That would be that's when they get into like some of their commercial stuff, bending conduit, pulling wire through conduit. The PLC essentials class, that would be more towards the industrial side again, getting into automation, like process automation at manufacturing plants and stuff like that. All of the stoplights around town, if you see that big silver box next to the stoplights, that's a PLC program. That's a computer program. Shows how those stoplights run and stuff like that. So we introduce them to that. Again, really just try to show them all different avenues of it. And you'll have some kid that loves that commercial side. Some kid loves the automation side. And so I think it's really good that we do that. Just show them all avenues of the trade.
Then the last semester there, it's kind of a capstone semester. That final code class, it's an exam prep. It gets them ready for that journeyman's exam and so forth there. That one they really seem to enjoy. It's a lot more of hands-on, maybe not be the right word, but a lot more calculation size and sizing our pipe and the correct size wire and working that avenue of it and so forth there. And then, of course, we have our electrical safety there. That's nonstop too, right along with the code. And then your wiring essentials labs, I'll let you kind of.
They're, like Mark said, they're wiring essentials, or their last semester is a capstone. So I treat that lab as like, they're almost like journeymen. You say, this is the project I want done. You let them run it, and then I'll act like the inspector at that point and try to, this is what you did right. This is what we got to fix. Things like that. And like they got that safety class. But really, in every class, I start with safety, little lesson beforehand. We're always talking about safety as we're going through. Just a couple slides of our lab. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to walk around there. Been in there a few times before. So we have in the picture on the left is just like you'll see some control boxes there, and then some residential type labs around the room. With the wood studs, wood framing like you'd see in a house. And then the picture on the right is our steel stud, or more of our commercial side, second year stuff where they get into like bending conduit and doing a little more commercial wiring. That is it. Questions or anything, or need to acknowledge?
Yep, we're gonna get this on the table and then ask a couple questions. Can I get a motion to acknowledge?
So moved.
Questions, discussion? I have a question. Do you have a wait list?
Yeah. We do.
Oh, right.
Always.
And so let's see, we've got the Ed Wood renovations coming up. How are you foreseeing you can better utilize that space to get more students to be electricians?
Great question. So we are just trying this year too. We probably should have mentioned too. We just went to like 8-week blocks. where we used to do these over 16 weeks. And so what we did, long story short, what that allowed us to do even right now is opens the door to like an afternoon session in this to right now double the amount of students we'd have.
Good
It would, of
job.
course, take more instructors. That 8-week deal has worked out great. We used to have like Monday, Wednesday classes, Tuesday, Thursday classes, and it would just seem like long periods of time that you'd miss out on. Like if we had a Monday holiday, that student would only be there Wednesday and then, Thursday, Friday, and you could go 10, 11 days without being in class. And so that was part of it, but also part of it was we had been looking at CBE before and things like that, just ways to try to maximize those numbers that we do have. And so that 8-week deal brought up the fact that we can get students in. The problem was they were taking up lab spaces before, and one student had that lab space, and you just couldn't expect them to get done in that amount of time. And now with the way we're set up, like I said, long story short, we're open to afternoon cohorts and an electrician. It would take another instructor or two, but that's kind of where we're at right now to address that need with that wait list.
Well, we just want to acknowledge the extra work on your behalf of thinking creatively and on how you can best make the demands of the students plus the demand of the space come together and in some ways adjust your curriculum as well. And that took some heavy lifting, I would imagine, on your part.
We'd still take more space too.
Okay, just a minute.
But we've worked around that, but we'd always take more room.
And to your point as well, when the renovation happens, they will be getting significantly more space as well. And I do just want to publicly acknowledge and commend that these two have really been very willing to embrace new things like competency-based education, even if it wasn't quite the right model, but giving it a shot, and then moving to 8 weeks. So they've really been willing to kind of jump out there and try new things, try to accommodate more students and just help in student learning. So I just want to say thank you for that as well. And the more space is coming.
Yeah.
So
Well, thank you. We appreciate that.
I'm listening and jotting down notes.
Sure.
Anybody else? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We've acknowledged your report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
obviously I am not Christine giving the VP of Finance report. Oh, is it in here? There, thank you. Christine had a family emergencies that she had to attend to. So instead of her all-star presentation, you're stuck with me, so I apologize. But I do have great news to report. As we look at year end for this past fiscal year that ran July 1st through June 30th, we ended $1.7 million positive. So we had $37.4 million coming in and $35.7 million in expenses. And this difference is a few things. Number one is we budget based upon a flat number of credits from one year to the next. And obviously our enrollment was up not just this year, but was up last year as well. So obviously the more credits led to more revenue coming in. Obviously it's just everybody being mindful of their expenses and spending what is necessary and spending for growth, but not overspending and living within our means. And then just with some of our equipment reimbursement, we were able to just get reimbursed from the state on some of our large equipment expenses and some of our Perkins dollars as well. In a more timely manner as well. So all of that led to an increase in revenue. So overall, very great numbers. Again, $1.7 million to the good. If we break that down in different categories, obviously you see our tuition, as I mentioned, was up due to higher enrollment. State funds were down just slightly from what we had budgeted. Some of that is we do still have some equipment dollars. As you may remember, we got some one-time equipment dollars from the state. So some of that is we're just waiting on some of that to come in as well. Just as there's just a little bit of lag on when we buy it versus then when we submit to the state and when we get the reimbursement for it as well. Federal funds, we were a little above what we had budgeted. that local funds, we do have some money coming in from the city and from some other sources, so that was a little above budget. As is our auxiliary sales. Auxiliary sales tends to be things like our bookstore, the daycare, as well as the grill food service. And then the other is down, but for a good reason. As you may remember, the budget that was approved last year had a structural deficit. And so we actually thought we were going to have to take about $800,000 or so out of our reserves to balance the budget. But because we were up, we didn't need to take that money out of reserves. So the reason why that is down is because we did not need to take that money. So that's a positive that was not that is coming in well below budget. And on the expense side, we are slightly below. In all three categories. Instructional services are all those things that happen inside the classroom and tend to make learning happen. Support services are more on the administrative side as well. So both of those slightly below budget, just as we had some open positions. Obviously, there's a lag that we save a little bit of money there as well. And then facilities was below budget as well. There's a lot of numbers on the spreadsheet, but this just goes into a little more detail in each of those categories, and I won't go through all these line item by line item, but just want you to be able to see broken out at a more detailed level. Obviously, budgeting is more of an art than a science. You kind of take your best guess on where we're going to be from year to year, and so some are a little above, some are a little below, and we try to hit those as close as we can, but ultimately we're focused on the bottom line. For the whole college as well. So at least wanted you to have that information. And then the combined fund balances, this is essentially, as Christine would say, kind of what we have in the bank, which is right about $11 million at this point. So it has been steadily on the rise. Those fiscal year 22 and 23, that's when we were working on the Sim Center. So that was deflated just a little bit artificially, just as we had some large expenses going out waiting for some of the reimbursement to come back in. But just as we've continued to be able to add reserves and save money, we've been able to build on that from one year to the next. So happy to answer any questions you may have.
Do I have a motion to acknowledge the budget?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
So as you think of budgeting this year, for, I guess we're going to be fiscal 26-7, always worried about federal monies. Do you have any kind of crystal ball on federal funds?
Do not, unfortunately. Obviously, the federal government shutdown is in the news right now. Luckily, Pell Grants are still flowing. Obviously, a lot of that came at the beginning of the semester. We don't have as much of that right now, but some of those things are still ongoing. I think on top of that, that would be number one. My second big question would be, obviously, we have money sitting in HUD, that grant for the new Abner Center, which, as we've been told, is there as long as it's there. But it ultimately it could go away. And so we're trying to obviously get that spent as quickly as possible. We have every assurance that it's going to be there, but just we never really know for sure. So obviously just the faster we can get that spent, we'll spend that money down before we would spend other money, just to make sure that we do spend it and that something might not happen to it through rescissions or other processes happening at the federal government. But otherwise, we're not as dependent upon federal grants and other monies as some other institutions, especially four-year institutions that just tend to have more of that money coming in. So it's that, and then some Perkins money that we use for equipment, and some salaries we can use it for as well. That seems to have support on both sides of the aisle right now. So I feel fairly confident that we'll continue to get that money. So overall, there's always a question, but I feel like we're in a pretty good position overall.
I was happy to hear about the Pell Grants in the previous report. So that was one thing that I was very concerned about. And I think given the situation we're at federally, get those HUD dollars spent.
Yes, I totally
ASAP.
agree. I totally agree.
Anybody else? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Same side. Okay, that is approved. We'll now move on with Jim Larson to the review revised school board or school district Southeast policies and regulations. Hi, Jim.
Good evening, President Keller and school board members. So in this area, we're talking for 5 different policies. Most of them are just update languages, some current practices. Nothing major to be done, and we're just requesting that it be approved.
Do you want us to look at approving items A through E?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. And Gail, any comments? Well, sure, that makes sense. Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the review revise items 11A through E?
Second.
Discussion?
I'll just have some comments like Mr. Larson has said before. If you recall, we did approve their switch over from using the NEPA coding system to a numerical coding system, and they've also rolled in regulations into their policies. But as a member of the policy committee out at Southeast, I was given ample opportunity to comment on these. They did a thorough job of vetting the policies prior to them coming to the committee. Committee had great discussion on everything, so these are good in their current state.
Excellent. Well, it sounds like great work in being, kind of a transparent, thorough process, and including your leadership team as well as the board, and ample time to have feedback.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. Should we move on to 12?
Sure.
Thank you, Jim.
These policies, I'm going to go into a little bit more depth just because there is more substance to them. In item number A, or letter A, STC 110, this is the update to the new vision, mission statements, and that the board has already approved, and we just went into it with more. We just made it over into ours, thereby changing it so much. We asked for a separate reading for 2 readings. For B, we have the surplus and disposal of surplus property. Our VP of Finance did a lot of research, and there's numerous state laws that fall into this. And with the references to all the state laws, we wanted to make sure that we went through a first reading and second reading for that. This is also similar for item C, 423. Same thing, a lot of different legal readings to it. There's almost, in this one, there was quite a bit of different writing to it also, and updating. And we again wanted first reading for that. In D, the accounting system. This was also a lot of legal updates, but consolidated. VP of Finance found in this one that there was a lot of procedural stuff in here that is being removed simply because every time we change the procedure, we'd have to change the policy. And right now, the VP of Finance is creating a procedural manual for her office, and that's all the stuff that's taken out of here right now will be placed into the manual for later. Because of the changes and the removal of stuff, we wanted a first read and second reading. Number 714, if some of you may remember this from previous school year, was up, and we actually removed it before it came to the board, and this is tobacco-free. In this, it's going to be different than a K-12 simply because we did not talk about nicotine in this. We talked simply about e-cigarettes, vaping, and tobacco, chewing, that kind of stuff. Simple reason is the majority of our students are able to purchase nicotine legally. Obviously, K-12 can't. So we didn't want to put the nicotine in there because it could be a medicine issue, it could be medical, it could be just a personal use. We looked more at other colleges and universities and what they were doing, and thereby put that word in. And the last one in this is service animals, 856. This is a totally new policy with the advancement of not only service animals, but emotionally support animals, we decided as a college and as a policy committee that we wanted to create a policy to outline what students can bring on property and what they can't. Housing is different. They will allow emotional support animals, but for campuses, classrooms, buildings, it'll be service animals only. The exceptions are we have a vet tech program, so they're allowed to bring in animals for their educational purposes. And also, we also do like what we call a de-stress day for, especially around finals, where we bring in animals that are emotional support for our students to come and sit with and just kind of relax before they go take tests. So those are still allowed, but would be under approval by the president only. Those are the ones I asked the board to acknowledge these as a first reading and then set up a second reading for November 5th, 2025 with the same.
Can I get a motion to acknowledge the first read for the district's policies and the regulations for Southeast?
So moved. Second.
Discussion.
Well, I again will just say that the work done by the deans and VPs in their area was outstanding. They did a lot of great research. The legal references are very good. I think that, again, given great opportunity to comment and the great discussion we had at the meeting was excellent. One clarification on the tobacco-free. Remember that a lot of the policy is dealing with the effects on another person, smoke or vapor, not necessarily the person smoking, but what kind of effect does it have on other people in the area. So it was more of a secondhand type smoke condition too that we took into consideration. As far as the service animals, I think it's a very good start for a new policy. I am going to say we'll take a look at how it works and if it needs to be tweaked at all. One of the things that I was surprised at, I'm just going to share, is that in the licensing or registering process of service animals in the state, they're not required to have any kind of identifying marks like a collar. Have you seen the vests that harnesses that will say, service animal working, do not pet, or whatever they put on those. So we'll just see, how that works with this policy, but I think it's an excellent policy to start with. And so I encourage all of you to acknowledge the first read.
Anybody else? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Jim. That
Thank you, board.
is approved. All right. Anybody else? All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Our next meeting is November 5th at 4 o'clock.